Let me tell you a story that almost every human being has lived through, but very few have ever spoken about. A story that hides in the corners of memory. Quiet, but unforgettable. It begins with a child, not one with scraped knees or wild laughter, or a circle of friends calling their name, but a child standing just a little too far outside the group. They hover at the edge of a playground or a living room, a classroom, a family gathering, hands fidgeting, breath shallow, eyes tracing the outline of a circle they are not part of. They watch other children run, shout, chase, argue, make up, and fall into the easy rhythm of belonging. And there, right there, stands the excluded child, not crying, not protesting, just watching, wondering. What invisible wall separates me from them? At first, exclusion feels like a passing sting, a moment, a shrug, a small silence. But for a child, even tiny moments become landmarks. They carve themselves into the architecture of memory, shaping how the child moves, speaks, attempts, fears, and hopes. If you've ever been that child even once, you already know how heavy silence feels when rejection sits inside it. But here's what most people never understand. Exclusion is not just social, it is biological, it is emotional, it is psychological, it is evolutionary. And what happens inside an excluded child is deeper, more complex, and more transformative than most adults realize. Because exclusion doesn't only change a moment, it rewires a mind. This is the psychology behind it. And today, we'll step into that child's inner world, not just to understand them, but to understand ourselves. Human beings are built for belonging, not enjoy, not prefer, but wired. Neuroscientists discovered something remarkable. The brain processes social rejection in the same regions that respond to physical pain. That's why a whispered secret, a turned back, or an ignored invitation can feel like a bruise you can't see. For a child whose world is still forming, this pain hits harder, because they don't just experience exclusion, they interpret it. Why me? What did I do wrong? Am I the problem? Is something wrong with me? The excluded child rarely blames the group. Their brain is still building its understanding of reality. And the simplest explanation becomes the truth. I must not be worth including. This is the first psychological wound, the collapse of self-worth. And as the pain lingers, the body responds. Stress hormones rise, vigilance increases. Small details become threats. A laugh? Maybe they're laughing at me. A whisper? Maybe they're talking about me. A glance? Maybe they don't like me. The child becomes hyper-aware, scanning constantly for signs they don't belong. This is ancient biology speaking. For most of human history, exclusion meant danger. To be left out of the group meant vulnerability. Our ancestors survived because belonging was protection, and the child's nervous system remembers. Here's where it becomes even more powerful. A child doesn't see exclusion as an event. They see it as a mirror. One moment becomes a pattern becomes a belief becomes identity. Psychologists call this internalized exclusion. The child thinks, I wasn't chosen, while Philes becomes, I'm never chosen, they didn't invite me, becomes, I'm not the kind of person people want. This is the dangerous twist. The child concludes the problem is who they are, not what happened. This identity then shapes everything. The way they talk, the way they enter a room, the way they take risks, the way they avoid risks, the way they hide their talents, the way they swallow their voice. And decades later, an adult still hesitates. Before speaking, before trying, before dreaming, before stepping forward, not because they lack ability, but because somewhere inside them, the excluded child whispers, be careful, don't get hurt again. Exclusion doesn't evaporate with age. Playgrounds become classrooms. Classrooms become offices. Offices become social circles, families, relationships. The patterns repeat. An adult who once felt invisible may sit at the back of a meeting, avoid initiating conversations, downplay their achievements, shrink instead of shine, wait to be invited rather than step in, fear being too much, fear being not enough, overthink every word. These behaviors confuse others, but to the excluded child within, they are survival. Psychologists call this anticipatory rejection, the belief that exclusion is inevitable, so the person protects themselves by pulling away first. It's not apathy, it's self-preservation, and ironically, this self-protection sometimes creates the distance they feared, reinforcing the cycle. Here's something people rarely discuss. Exclusion also shapes the excluders. Children learn quickly who holds power. Sometimes exclusion is cruelty, but often it's unconscious, a way of saying, "We're us, you're not." Kids test belonging by defining who is inside and who is outside. This is in-group, out-group psychology, a pattern found across all cultures and ages. The need to belong is so strong that sometimes we exclude others to secure our own place. And those children grow into adults who form cliques, gatekeep, ignore certain voices, unconsciously overlook the quiet ones, maintain invisible hierarchies, not out of malice, but out of habit. Exclusion becomes inherited. Children learn exclusion not only from peers but from adults. A teacher who favors the loudest kids, a parent distracted by stress, a sibling who dominates space, a family that praises one child's strengths but overlooks another's quieter gifts. The message, intended or not, is this: some people are more important than others. When exclusion comes from home, the wound cuts deepest. Home is supposed to be the place of unconditional belonging. When it isn't, the child's entire map of the world shifts. But here's the truth most people don't realize. The brain is not fixed. Identity is not finished. Childhood wounds are not destiny. Neuroscience shows us that new experiences can rewrite old patterns. Healing begins with reframing. Instead of, "I was excluded because I wasn't enough," the truth becomes, "I was excluded because humans are flawed, fearful, and learning." Belonging stops being something others grant and becomes something we can build inside ourselves. This is the rebirth of identity, and many excluded children grow into adults who are highly empathetic, observant, creative, deep thinkers, emotionally intelligent, compassionate, resilient, because they notice things others don't. Pain sharpens perception, but healing turns perception into wisdom. Here's what the research shows. Small gestures can change everything. A smile, a "join us," a seat saved, a question asked, a name remembered, a story listened to. These tiny moments can reroute a child's entire developmental path. Inclusion is not just kindness. It is intervention. It is prevention. It is healing. It is power. So let me ask you, who around you feels unseen? Who waits at the edges? Who lowers their voice? Who shrinks their presence? Who carries the quiet ache of being left out? And perhaps more importantly, where inside you does the excluded child still live? Because the most powerful act of healing is this: to turn to that child, the one who waited for an invitation that never came, and say silently, "You belong. You always did. Your worth was never missing." And when you say it to them, you begin to believe it yourself. The story of the excluded child does not have to end in exclusion. It can end in recognition. It can end in connection. It can end in belonging. The kind we build, the kind we offer, the kind we become.